Hello and welcome back to the BIN2BEAN Training Series on awareness raising and community engagement. In this module, we'll explore European legislation along the entire value chain, from biowaste to soil improvers. To understand it clearly, we need to consider four main types of legislation: waste management, legal condition for operating processing plants, requirements for the quality of products made from biowaste, and soil protection. Let's start with the first one, waste management. The Waste Framework Directive, or WFD, is the European flagship waste regulation. It defines biowaste as biodegradable garden and park waste, food and kitchen waste from households, offices, restaurants, wholesales, canteens, caterers and retail premises, and comparable waste from food processing plants. In this training, we'll focus on biowaste from households and restaurants. But remember, there are also many other types of biodegradable waste from food production that could be relevant for certain business models. We'll look at some of those in Module 5. Beyond simply defining biowaste, European legislation has clear goals, like preventing food waste, diverting biodegradable waste from landfills, as covered in the Landfill Directive, and promoting the utilization of biowaste as covered in the Waste Framework Directive. There are also ambitious targets. By 2035, Member States must take the necessary measures to ensure that no more than 10% of municipal waste by weight can go to landfill. Also, it is important to remember that it is already illegal to landfill separately collected biowaste. Furthermore, since December 2023, the separate collection and treatment of biowaste has been mandatory across the EU. According to the Waste Framework Directive, biowaste that cannot be prevented must either be separated and recycled at source or collected separately and not mixed with other waste. Composting and digestion are encouraged, but with two clear goals: protect the environment at high level and produce high-quality outputs. These materials must be safe to use and should promote the use of products derived from biowaste. Now, there are some possible derogations from separate collection, but only if it doesn't lead to the best environmental outcome and it's not technically feasible, or it would result in disproportionate economic cost. The details of collection is organized and how waste charges are applied are left to each member state. And there's a strong incentive for separate collection in order to meet Europeans' recycling targets. Organic waste makes up about 30% of municipal waste, while EU targets aims to reach 55% by 2025 and 60% by 2030. Incentives at national and municipal level are therefore crucial to make this happen. In some regions in South and Southeast Europe, mechanical and biological treatment of mixed waste is still used, but this produces poor quality compost full of contaminants, which is mostly landfill or used to fill former quarries. From 2027, such compost will no longer count as recycled biowaste. This highlights the potential for business models that focus on kitchen and green waste from households or commercial premises. Let's move on to what happens after collection. Biowaste can be processed into two main ways: anaerobic digestion, where air is excluded, producing biogas and digestate rich in nutrients, and aerobic composting, where air is actively supplied to create compost. Soil improvers can only be made from compost. However, in many anaerobic digestion facilities, the solid residues from the biogas processes are composted afterwards to produce soil improvers. Though there are no definitive regulations except for large digesters which are covered by the European Industrial Emission Directive, best available techniques for biological processes are published by JRC and are available as supporting material of this module. One crucial step of processing is hygienization, protecting both workers and end users from health risk. European Directive 2054 requires hygienization during processing, which in practice means maintaining a temperature of 70 degrees for more than 3 days. Operators aim to keep temperature at this level, without going much higher, to protect beneficial microorganisms essential for the process. Once the material is ready to be marketed, we move into product quality requirements. Hygienization is also a fundamental prerequisite for using products from biological processes. In its product function categories, the European Fertilizing Products Regulation sets out the requirement for fertilizers, soil improvers and growing media. For biowaste products, the most relevant component material categories are compost from anaerobic treatment and products from anaerobic treatment. Furthermore, the regulation annexes specify minimum nutrient concentration with detailed tables that can be found within the supporting material of this module, threshold for contaminants such as glass or their derivatives, and limits for plastic contamination, no more than 2.5 grams per kilos of dry matter for plastics above 2 millimeters, effective from 2026. And what about the soil itself? At European level, there is currently no dedicated legislation for soil protection. The Soil Monitoring and Resilience Directive is still under discussion. Because soils vary so much, it's not considered practical to set European-wide limits for contaminants or nutrient targets. If you plan to work with soil improvers, you must therefore check your national legislation. Additionally, the European Soil Observatory provides information on the status of soils in each member state. If you want to follow upcoming developments in the European legislation on biowaste and soil improver, you should consult the Circular Economy Action Plan, the Bioeconomy Strategy, currently under revision, likely to emphasize material recovery from waste biomass, and the European Strategy, which sets a vision for 2050 and specific targets for 2030. This concludes our initial overview of European legislation across the biowaste to soil improvers value chain, which will be deepened in the final module of this course. In the next video, we'll learn about the hidden value of compost. See you in the next module.